Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 4. My name is Jessica, and this is Elizabeth, and welcome to the Grieving Sisters. Today, we are dedicating episode 4 to my brother, Sean, and as you heard from the last episode, we dedicated to Natalie and to her husband, Simba, which is her brother, Elizabeth's brother-in-law. It was crazy how everything started, Elizabeth. So let's kind of just go back a little bit. We like to give like a little inside of how we know each other. We went to school together, grammar school together. We've known each other since we were 8. So it's about 32 years under our belt, high school together and everything. My siblings knew her sibling. Like we were just like birthday parties and stuff like that. So, it was always, if I went out, I had to take my brother and sister, and I couldn't do anything. I was like, dang, like, what if I wanted to do, like, I don't know, like, what was it, 7 Minutes in Heaven, like, so, like, nothing could happen, like, or, like, going to the park and just, like, because they would go and snitch, and that was their job, is to snitch.
Well, me and my sister dated brothers at one point.
Wait, no way.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Who?
So it was.
I can't.
I'm not saying
no names. Oh my gosh. No, I didn't know that.
But that's how, like, that was like, we got really close.
Yes.
Because I was like in high school and we like dated brothers, and it was like,
well, if you tell mommy, I'm telling mommy.
Right.
Yup. Mm-hmm.
I guess we're going here. Yeah. I was thinking, are you coming?
Yep. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And you see, but that's where you guys had that, just that bond.
Right.
Like, so I was like, my brother's 5 years younger than me. And I could just remember the one time when we transferred schools. So we went from Lincoln School to Anoa Klein. Mm-hmm. And when I went to Klein, it was my first and last year. So it was my 8th grade year. I was like, oh, I left all my friends. I have to make new friends. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, I have perseverance. I'm resilient. I'm able to make these friendships and build bonds. And I remember my brother he had to be all in like maybe the 1st or 2nd grade. And we were hanging outside in front of Joey's, which is like a corner store that had like all the candies. And he was there, and he saw me, and there was just like a whole bunch of guys around. And we were like by the garbage can, like, as crazy as that sounds, right? Like, but we were just all hanging out there. And he's like, oh, word? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And he starts decking these guys. And these guys are like, what are you doing? Like, get out of here. Like, why are you hitting us? He's like, I'm going to tell mommy that you were around 5 different guys and I punched them and I beat them up. And I was just like, well, you're not my dad, dude. Like, where do you think you are? Like, so he always had that protection over me as I had that protection over him.
Right. It's like that, bigger, younger brother type of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he always tried.
I can relate to that. Yeah.
Always tried.
Like, just because I'm younger doesn't mean like I can't parent you too,
Correct. Right. And there was times that I'm always like, come on, Sean, like, you can do this, you can do that. There were some instances that, like, even the last time that we saw each other, I didn't think it was going to be the last time. We went out to eat. We went to Sedona's, and we took a picture together. And I was like, and this is November. So now you have November, then you have December, January, February. And so you got 4 months. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to hang out with him on Christmas. No, he had to work. Okay, do you want to come with us for New Year's? Like, we're just going to go to dinner. No, I have to work. And I was just like, dude, like, work-life balance. Like, you got to stop.
Right.
So to get into it, my dad, he had lost his vision in 2015. So I was taking care of him from all that time. And when I decided to, so his sister was here from Ghana. So his sister spent, I should say, because she's like in Ghana and she's like, I'm not dealing with the US of A anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm done. I'm too old. I'm staying over here. But when she was here, she was like, let's celebrate your dad. It's his 70th birthday. My daughter will make this food. You go pick up, I had a pick up a tail of oxtails because that was my dad's favorite. And, you know,
My mom just made a giant pot.
I know, I need
We
this
all
in my
had it
life.
before the cemetery.
like,
I
I
know.
need
You know
this.
what? Drive me home.
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay, thanks, boo. I might have to eat it in the car. I don't want my
Right.
husband touching it.
Right.
That's a whole other thing, right? Can't have anything for
Right. You're
myself.
not hungry? No.
No,
Actually.
no. So with that being said, I was like, you know, Sean, you have to be here. He was like, no, I have to work, and I'm the only person here working. I have to be here. And I was just like, all right, cool, dude. Like, do you want me to pay you for the day? Like, I kind of was just
Right.
like throwing anything out there. And he was like, no. And then how am I going to get there? And I said, that's not an issue. If we have to take 2 cars, my husband and I, you know, we'll drop daddy off in the assisted living, and then I'll drop you home.
And this is your dad's actual birthday.
My dad's actual birthday, 2/9/2019. And we're all like singing like happy birthday, and we're all leaving. I went and dropped my dad off, and we're driving back, and my husband's like, well, I'm going to go out and go with some coworkers. And I was like, dude, it's 11:30 at night. Like, we just celebrated my dad. Like, let's just call it a night. Like, why do you have to be outside? It's unnecessary. So like, he's kind of like, oh, I think I should go. And like, you know, my husband's a people pleaser. So he's like, I don't know, I'm going to go. And I'm kind of like, I don't think so. So all of a sudden I'm checking my messages on Instagram, and his girlfriend, she's like messaged me. She was like, hey, Sean's in the hospital. I said, oh, his shoulder again? Like, because I used to always get the phone calls. Oh, I popped my shoulder out. I'm in the hospital. I was like, okay, do you need me to come get you? Like, what do I got to do? And no, I'm just letting you know I'm in the hospital. Okay. She's like, no, they're not releasing information. And I'm like, red flag. Okay, that's not good. So I was like, but he was working. So like, did somebody go and rob the store? You know, so he worked in a cell phone store, and he was by himself. So there's a lot of those cell phone stores that like, they only have like 1 or 2 associates, very small or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, cool. You know, let me figure this out. So I went out to the living room, and I said to my husband, I was like, Sean's in the hospital and they're not releasing information. And he's like, we got to go. And I said, I think you should drive. He's like, all right. So we get there. His 2 bosses were there. He was like, you know, usually Sean answers the phone. Anytime we call, he answers the phone. We kept calling him. We actually had the guy next door from the pizzeria to go in to see where he was, but he had collapsed behind the desk. So nobody was to think like,
it appears empty.
Right. Like it just appeared, or he was in the back, or he was in the bathroom or whatever. But you know, nobody's thinking anything. So the doctor came out, and, you know, she was like, listen, you know, he's passed on. They found food caught in his throat. And let me tell you that was his biggest fear in life, was choking to death. And I was just like, what? Like, and I just let out a wail. And my husband came from he knew it was my wail. Like, I didn't even know that he knew that it was my wail, right? Like, he ran, and he was just like, and I go, like, we just knew.
It's like a freak.
And I just collapsed on the floor, and I was like, we got to call my mom. And I'm like beefing with my mom. So I was like, she has me blocked. I have her blocked. I need the hospital phone. I need to call her. And she finally picks up the phone, and she's like, hello. And I'm like, mommy. And she's like, Samantha? And I go, no, Jessica. And she's like, what happened? And I'm like, Shawnee, he's dead. She lost it. Like, that was her little boy. Like, you don't understand. Like, my mom was pregnant when her dad passed away, who's the one in the veteran. So my grandfather always wanted a little boy. And my grandfather died 11 days before my brother was born. Keep that number 11.
Hold on. Your mother
was 9 months pregnant
with your younger sibling.
With Sean.
When her father died.
Yes.
So did my mom.
Imagine. Telling you.
My mom was carrying my little sister when her father died. And she found her father.
Wow.
Yeah, he had died. He had a heart attack.
Wow. No, this one, there was
crazy parallel.
Right. But remember the 11 and keep the 11.
Yeah.
And I think on my grandfather, I think his birthday was the 11th.
The 11th, I think. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
His birthday's July 11th. Keep 11 in the back of your mind. Yeah. So
you delivered this news to your mom.
Yeah, I delivered this to my mom, and I'm just like, I don't know, whatever it is that you want me to do. So they were like, do you want to see the body? I'm like, no, but I don't have a choice. Who else is going to do it? So I went down and I just saw it and I was just in disbelief. I was just like, what is this?
Right.
So now my phone is blazing because my mom's calling this Titi and this person and that person. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? Like, I can't answer this phone right now. And when you're grieving, like, you still want to people please, you still want to answer your phone, you still want to be reactive, right? Like, or active, I want to say, and not be reactive. But the way that I just couldn't, I'm like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, I just had to deliver this news. So we get home. I didn't sleep. The next day, remember, I dropped my dad off at the assisted living, so he still doesn't know.
Right.
People are posting pictures of my brother. And I'm just like, bro, I didn't even tell my dad yet. Like, thankfully, like, he can't see, right? Like, you know, a gift and a curse right there, right? But so I get down there and I'm like, hey, Dad. He's like, wow, I get to see you twice. And I go, yeah, no, this is not good stuff. You know, one of my old friends was with me. No, you know, my husband was there, and the nurse came in. There was a nurse there, and he was from Ghana, and he spoke Twi. So that's my dad's dialect. And I said, and his name was Scott, and he was like, you know, I never worked this shift, and I'm never here. And I said, okay, I need you to help me because I don't think my dad is gonna, like, listen, my dad's been in this country. He was in this country for over like 50 years. But regardless that, just to have someone with that dialect to help him. And so I broke the news to my dad, and he was, I think, just a lot of guilt from him not being a present dad, as present as he could be. Just really a lot of guilt, ridden with guilt. And the guy just started to pray with my dad in tweet. And it was just like, it was just so bizarre. Like, it was very, very bizarre. So, you know, like I said, my dad's birthday is 2/9. 2 + 9 is 11.
Is 11.
Yeah. So with all that being said, like, you know, then I had to go to the funeral parlor. You know, we picked, it was specific that I picked Guttenberg. I forget the name off the top of my head. Mario was just awesome. And it was right next door to where basically he grew up in Guttenberg with his best friend lived above. So, you know, we picked a Barquin. There you go. He was at Barquin. And they just did a phenomenal job. And Mario, when I tell you, like, you know, when there's people in their purpose and there's people who are living what they're supposed to be doing, I looked at him dead square in the face and just like tears dropped out. I go, I have to tell you this. I don't know who's telling me and what, if spirit came over or just something that you need to hear this message. You are where you're supposed to be and you are in your purpose. And he just looked at me and he goes, I know, I felt it. He was like, I felt it when I met you. And just, he was just very, he was, like I said, I just can't go on. I can go on and on about him, but, you know, just, you know, a lot of things changed. It was a huge awakening for me. And, you know, more and more, like I said, I'm the type of person, you can tell me something, but I'm going to go research it and I'm going to culminate my own opinion. I'm going to create my own, to process any type of whatever it is, right? You know, they always say, Jessica, fix your tinfoil hat, right? Because I'm always critical thinking. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go do my own research. And, you know, I really started to recognize who are my real friends. And that was one thing. And I don't know if you've experienced that yet, but I was able to compare it to, like, and this is going to sound like ghetto or whatever, when you turn the lights on and the roaches scatter. And I say it in such a way that, like, roaches, right? Because they sit there and they just want to steal your food, and or do they want to steal your light, or do they want to steal things from you? And, you know, I had one person who was a friend and who I considered like my everything, who, you know, I did take for granted. And sure, maybe I dumped on her a lot, which was then you turn around and say, hey, girl, got to go to therapy, which I did. And I'll get to that in a second. But, you know, she had the audacity to say to me, and I was like about 6 months into my grieving, she was like, well, death is the inevitable. And I was just kind of like, yeah, sure, you're right, no doubt, but I don't want to hear that right now.
Right.
This is my baby brother.
Right.
And I hope one day that people have compassion for you.
Right.
And you want people to have compassion for you because you're absolutely right. Death is the inevitable, right? And when it's your turn and your parents go or your siblings go or whatever the case may be, I pray that people are there to support you.
Right.
And not that I'm not going to be there, but I'm not going to be there.
Right. Also, there's layers to the grief.
Yes.
Especially because our siblings went in a violent way.
Yes, traumatic.
It was very violent
and young.
way. A car accident, a choking. I mean, they're all accidents.
Yes.
They're all things that
29 years old. He hasn't even reached 30.
Right.
Didn't even have, like, sure, he had his girlfriend, stepchildren, whatever, but he didn't even have, like, start his family.
Right.
He was actually building his career. He was doing the in-betweens with real estate. He was working with, some bigger names with lawyers and stuff like that during the day. And at night, he was working at a cell phone store.
Yeah.
So he was just building his career. He was just starting, I feel like, his life, right? And, just to go so traumatically, right? Like, so I did do therapy, and then I shied away from it, right? Because summertime comes, I'm sorry, like, even as a therapist, I'm telling you, when the summer comes, nobody wants therapy. Everybody thinks it's an inconvenience. Why? Because we need sunlight. In Jersey, guess what? Yes, we understand. When winter's here, it snows. We get it. It's cold, whatever. But we just need that extra oomph. And when the summer comes, everybody's outside. Everybody wants to have a good time.
You can fill your time with, like, beach and fun and vacations and
But then when November came around, and it was like a big impact on ending of the friendship, because it expired a long time ago, and I think I was just latching onto it because of the sisterhood, and I pride myself in loyalty, so I let a lot of things slide that shouldn't have slid as much as it did, right? Like, and I just let it go and let it go and let it go, but where that brought me to, you got to remember, like, this is like an impact, like, this hit me to the core that I was like, you know what? I'm going to start therapy. But when you do start therapy for your grief, you're not only working on the grief, but you're also healing other wounds.
Oh, past trauma.
Like, and, just, it was a lot of things that I had to work on, that I thought was very important. And I thought was, just a part of my grieving process. And, I try to take what happened there, like with my brother, and use this and give me fire to just kind of ignite me to be in my purpose, to give my self-worth, to finally just stand in my truth and not let people take advantage of me, right? And just be kinder, right? Like, and love is the answer. And I try to show as much love as I can, and then fast forward, I mentioned in the previous episodes, my dad passes from throat cancer on 11/11. So there's a significant number, like with 11, I don't know what the significance is. 11/11 is usually, like they say, angel numbers, right? Yeah. So I thought it was really profounding, and I wanted to do deeper work, right? And so I created Planted Seed because I really wanted to help adolescents get, like, to show them, like, listen, it doesn't matter where you start. As long as you start, you don't even know where you're gonna end.
Right.
And what I mean by end, right? Like, in the next 10 years, we'll probably be in a different career set.
Right.
In the next 10 years, like, we're going to do something different, right? Because we're always constantly evolving and we're growing as just human beings, and we're just trying to enjoy this human experience, right? And I feel like a lot of people don't do that.
Right.
My grief was definitely very heavy. I like, not so much trauma bonding, but, I did dump on a lot of people, and I just didn't know that I was. And it was crazy. Like, I lost my brother, but then I already had tickets to go meet my brother for the first time in Ghana for my dad's first marriage. So it was just like 2019 was the roller coaster. It really hit me hard. It was my 35th birthday. And actually, right after my brother's, speaking of my brother's funeral, right? I didn't even know it was on Valentine's Day. That's how much of a brain fog that people came in. They were like, yeah, we were going to go out to dinner for Valentine's Day, but, we came to support you. And I was like, today's Valentine's Day?
Right. It's like,
It was like bizarre. And then when I went back to work, so I worked as a school counselor. I already started working on some senior letters, and they were underneath my thing because I just don't, you don't know who's coming in and out of the office to clean and seeing names or whatever. And I did my letters and I put it underneath there. And when I got back to work, they were kind of like, "Oh, we did your letters for you." And I was like, "What letters?" And I was like, "Oh, wait, they're under here. I had them done." But I could have, I wasn't thinking about that,
right.
And, just, yeah. And just to be supportive, a lot of people were supportive at work. But then like, when I tell you it was like a roller coaster, like, so like people were so supportive. But then when I just I did not have the bandwidth to do certain things.
I'm going through that right now.
Like political stuff. Like,
it's like, be a team player.
Yes.
And you're like,
here, hurrah.
Like I can barely brush my teeth to get here.
Like, I'm crying in the morning.
Yeah, I'm like, I can get up, I can wash my face, I can have a little cup of coffee.
Right.
And then I grab my toothbrush and my toothpaste, and I put it in a Ziploc bag, and I just drive to work. And when I get there, I'll brush my teeth. These are things that people don't see.
Right. And they don't understand.
And then it's like, oh, can you just do all this extra stuff? And you're like...
Yeah. And it was like a big political year. And all of a sudden, I came back to school September, and all my side jobs that I was doing, and I was really into helping our teens, and they literally took off. And it wasn't even so much about the money, like, at least come to my face and say, "Hey,
right,
you didn't do X, Y, and Z. Right. We know that you're going through X, Y, and Z. Right. So we're going to relinquish this from you and have somebody else do it." They didn't even have the audacity to do that. I had to find out in emails, or like my boss crying to me like, "I'm sorry, Jess, like, you didn't get it." And I'm just like, no doubt.
Right.
No doubt. Like, now I see.
How much bereavement did you get?
So
which is another huge problem.
5 days, but I only took 4. But then when I came back that day, everybody was coming to hug me, and I just collapsed on the floor. Like, obviously, like, right? Like, you want people to love you and hug on you and whatever. Right. But I was just like, I'm not there. Yeah, I was like, I'm not there. So, like, they signed me in or whatever, because, instead of doing it on the computer, we want to sign you in.
Right.
And I just went back to my office, and I was like, yo, like, I'll get my work done. Just leave me alone.
Right.
Like, let me be. But
I think that's like, it's, they don't get it. Like, you want to come in.
Just let me do my thing.
Just do your work.
And I'm out.
And just go. Like, the office chit chat.
No, I don't want to hear it.
Be like, oh, let's go to lunch.
No, I don't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear any of that.
We had to go, we had to do like a lunch at work, and I was like, I can't go because I have therapy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I booked... My lunch breaks are to go to my car and close my eyes for 10 minutes because I'm not sleeping.
Right.
Or, I do, therapy, virtual therapy for an hour. It's like, it's just so, and it's not that people are insensitive. It's just like, you can never understand.
Until you go through it. Right. And then that's when people really have compassion and everything. And it's like,
I was going to say, this happening to me, and I'm sure you feel it too, is like an injection of empathy.
Yeah. Yeah. Even more so.
I just became so empathetic to people around me.
Yeah.
Because I started even simple things like you're on the subway or on the bus, or you're in a coffee shop, and I'm sitting there and I'm wondering how many people here have had a fucking tragedy, death.
Yeah.
Or this loss in their life, I think about my mom, who gets up and goes to work and is doing stuff, and she's an assistant director of a library. And I'm thinking about people like asking her a question about a program, and I'm like, she just buried her daughter.
Yeah.
Like,
and no parent
in her office.
No parent should bury their child. And that was something that I made sure, and I can close out with this. I made sure my mom came from Florida, which now is, she's finally living up here. She came from Florida to grieve her son, be at the funeral, and call it a day, and let her grieve her son. Let her mourn the way she wants to, set up her little, she had her little stuff, her little end table. She had an altar, and she has like the pictures of all of us, and me, my brother, my sister. But I allowed her to do that. I picked the clothes. I did that. I paid for everything, like zero you know.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful for the people who were there for me and who opened their arms and always checked in on me.
Yeah.
Even still to this day, like sometimes it's a little difficult, but, I am grateful. And, I'm also grateful for everyone listening to this. And thank you for tuning in for episode 4. And it's also dedicated to Sean Connelly.
Sean Connelly. We
Little
love
Shawnee.
you. Sleep in paradise.
Yes. Thank you guys. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.